Okay, guys, I'm back again. Sorry about the ending to part one of this bullying video. I think I've got myself um, composed again, but it's rough. Um, reason I mentioned Dale, um, where we left off was the neighbor boy Dale. After I had attempted suicide and was gone for 2 weeks in a healthcare center and came home, I found out he had killed himself. And he was a young fourth grade boy that was picked on terribly in school. We're having Coke bottle glasses, jacked up teeth all over the place, um, what you would consider geeky. And I spent a lot of time in the school bus with him and really got to know him and let him know he was my little buddy and he was special and he looked up to me. And I know he was bullied the same way I was, if not worse. So to me, it was important he had a friend. When I attempted suicide afterwards, there were so many times that I couldn't believe I failed because what I had to live with afterwards was even worse than what it was before. I was an influence to him. And I think, even though rumor has it, he got upset one day about not being able to ride the four-wheeler. And his brother was in the military. He happened to be home. And he took one of his brother's guns and shot himself. But I know he had heard about what happened with me. And though a lot of people have said, it's not your fault, I was a bad influence to a poor bullied child that in a way thought he'd never see me again. I was probably his only friend. I don't know if he just had a temper tantrum and decided to kill himself, but I know it wasn't just over a temper tantrum. I know that poor little boy had gone through so much. And so I did what I did and tried to find a way out. He succeeded. And I'll go into that more in my attempted suicide video. But it is a reflection on bullying. He was bullied to death. He was. And I don't know that I could have saved him, but I know what I did didn't help him. There's a lot of guilt. And that was a long time ago. Shortly after that, my anorexia started. I had a lot of body issues. Ended up having to go live with my aunt after a while. Ended up going to the senior prom, but I was working a job as a cook because I did need to buy my cap and gown and graduation announcements because I wasn't living at home. My parents weren't paying for anything. So I had to make money for that. And then my girlfriends decided they were going to go to the prom. I said, well, I've never been to a prom, but I paid $40 to rent this plain, straight dress from like the 60s to go to this. And then we got there and about 10 minutes in, the zipper broke. So that was my extent of prom. Again, nobody wanted to take me. But I did make enough money to go to the senior prom and get my graduation stuff. After living with my aunt for a while, I attempted suicide again shortly before graduation. This time, though, my friends had kind of come over. Something had transpired, and they just left me for dead. And at that point, I called my parents, and they did take me to a local hospital, but we didn't tell them I was trying to commit suicide. We just said I just wasn't feeling well and took an overdose of aspirin. So the hospital did a few things, but they didn't think it was a severe overdose. I was literally sick for like a week or two, vomiting and vomiting and vomiting and vomiting. I basically had to wait till everything went through my system. It was hell on earth surviving that. Because yeah, they should have pumped my stomach and they didn't. That was bad. It was a day to day. Am I going to survive this or not? And it was torture. So that was pretty bad. Did graduate. Was really happy about that. But then things at home were still really bad, so I ended up staying with my grandparents for a while. And this group of friends, which you're gonna learn more about in my attempted suicide video, because they had done all kinds of things. Like after I tried to kill myself the first time, they made a suicide pact, and the whole community was up in arms because all of a sudden these teenagers are all going to kill themselves. I was a nobody. I was bullied and tormented. I did not know until I did that the influence I had over people, because I was somebody who was kind and compassionate. And so the people who were touched by me were all people who were lonely before too. And when I was gone, their loneliness came back. I was the one that they looked up to, and I did not realize the power I had when I thought I was all alone. And I thought it was never going to end. When I decided that was the way out, an unbelievable amount of people thought it was the same answer. The bullying I went through didn't lead to my death, but it did lead to a couple. And part of that is my fault. And part of that is the bullying. Had I not gone through what I did, I wouldn't have done what I did. But I have to own it. I can't blame it all on my bullies and my classmates and my family. But anyway, these group of friends and I, we decided we're all going to take off. We're going to go to Canada, start new lives. Well, I was the only one of age. Well, they were underage. So as we got closer to the Canadian border, I was like, wait a second. I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. I don't even know how I'm going to get you guys across the border. So we stopped in a city, spent the night, found some local boys at a bowling hall, and drank in a hotel room. And then my friend stole my car because I had basically was trying to talk them into going home. And they apparently didn't want to, so they stole my car. That was a big adventure. And then later that summer, I was raped. I'd like to say the bullying and all the torment stopped there, but it didn't. One thing I had learned a little bit later was that the internet, had come about, and I could finally have this online persona where I could be somebody else, and I loved it. It reminded me of the theater. I did also join a community theater, so I finally had that outlet as well. I did finally discover with men that I wasn't so unwanted, that men wanted to be with me, but only sexually. So it's not like I had boyfriends or anything, but after the rape, I really went off on this whole sex kick, and it felt good to be wanted even just for that, though. My self-esteem was bottom of the barrel. And I thought, well, if they want to have sex with me, I must not be that ugly. My body can't be that bad. And So, to beat the anorexia and the self-esteem issues, then I would have sex. Well, then also because of the rape, I liked rough sex, because then that's how I handled the rape, and so on and so on. And I just kept making excuses for my behavior. And this lasted a really long time, with my parents because of everything. I was the black sheep in the family. I was the horrible, terrible child, the rotten one, because I was caught for shoplifting and things like that, where my brother got caught on drug charges. My sister had gotten pregnant as a teenager. I was the bad one because I got caught shoplifting. I think we all had a part in not being good kids, but I'll take the black sheep. I don't care anymore, but that did not help my self-esteem issues, having my own mother out there telling her friends and family, oh my gosh, she's terrible. She's a rotten person. Don't trust her. Don't talk to her. Don't have anything to do with her. My mom then became my biggest bully, who was, I thought, my only friend. And to this day, she's still my biggest bully. Well, next to my ex-husband and his girlfriend now, which is, they bully and laugh at me. I was about to die, and they're laughing in my face. 47-year-old man and a 20-year-old girl. Like, my whole life existence, even at the age of 51, is a joke to society. It's like, when does the bullying stop? When do people grow up and start realizing that they're the ones, if you've got to laugh at somebody and you got to bully them and you have to torment them, you've got a problem. They don't have a problem. You do. And the one thing I have learned about bullies is if I take on their problems and turn them into my issues, my self-esteem issues, I'm taking their problems on. I don't do that anymore. That's the bully's problem. You got problems, not me. I'm fine. I believe in myself. I got my crap together. You don't laugh at me. Laugh at me all day long. It doesn't have any bearing on me. I do not have to allow the bully to control me by taking my power and my belief in myself away from me. I did that too long. And too many people suffered. Too many bad things happened. And some people died. No bully will ever have that kind of power over me ever again. Let's see, church, I always felt there was gossip. I was paranoid. I had a coworker when I was, my early 20s that actually was trying to train me in a job that said verbally in front of everybody, well, if you weren't so stupid. I was like, I got up and walked out of the job. And the boss had called and says, are you coming back? And he says, no, and here's why. If the person who's training me is going to stand up and tell everybody how stupid I am, why would I bother? Well, of course you don't do that in public in a work environment to your coworkers. But I thought, oh, this is acceptable. I'm being bullied again. So I'll just walk away. And the boss is like, no, we're not going to allow her to do that to you. The first time in my life, and her name was Edwina, stood up for me. Told somebody, you cannot talk to people that way. That is not tolerable here. I stayed with that company for 13 years. Out of mad respect. It was unbelievable that they asked me to come back because they said, no, we don't tolerate behavior like that. I had seen nothing but behavior like that for like 22 years. I didn't think they'd do anything about it. I was shocked at how the situation worked itself out, and finally found a place where bullying wasn't tolerated. What I did, and this is going to be clearly shorter video. I should have just put it at the end of the other one, but I couldn't. I needed my time out. Is that I have learned, though, the bullying never ends. Somebody is always going to be there to cut somebody else down. And like I said earlier, don't let them take your power. Ignore them. Keep believing in yourself. You know who you are. Do not let bullies or society decide who you are, who you're going to become. There's a little snippet that I kind of wrote for myself to remind me kind of how I feel about bullying in my situation and to encourage me. And it says, here, I'm going to try to read it by flashlight again because it's getting dark in here. But basically, that the bullying never ends. And then I wrote this to encourage myself. I might be ugly, crazy, fat, etc. in their world, but I don't have to let them live in my world or make my life ugly. I have to believe what I see in the mirror, myself, from the inside out. Bullies are shallow, manipulative tyrants that are narcissistic. They will never see the beauty of who you are. Do not feed them. Silence is golden. They want a reaction. Don't give them what they want. Don't let them live in your mind. Save that space for those who are worth it. Be loyal to you. Don't become them. You're not a follower. You're a leader. They bully out of their fear of you because they can see your power and they will try to own it. Take back your power. I still believe every word of that self-encouragement that I had to give myself on a daily basis. And though there were days those words were so hard to believe, but they are true. And once I found God in the Bible, I really realized how true those words were. 3 different things that I came up with in the Bible in regards to bullying. There's Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Do not let any do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only allow what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. And that is so true that I am going to read it again. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful to building up others according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. You can try to encourage people. They're not always going to listen. They're not always going to understand because they've been beat down so hard that all they can hear in their mind is the nastiness of the unwholesome words. Those unwholesome words can become who you are if you let them breed into your soul. Your mind starts to control everything. Your soul can't even breathe anymore. Build others up. Don't tear them down. You don't get power from ripping somebody apart or tearing apart their life. You get power by helping others and building them up. A power that you can't even imagine. It's right in the Bible. That's what we're supposed to do. And I don't care if you believe in the Bible or not. It's beautiful. And it's right. And that was way at the beginning of time. Because God knew we were going to do this to each other. The next one I have is from 1 John chapter 3, verse 15, New Testament. Anyone who hates a brother or sister is a murderer, and you know that no murderer has eternal life residing in him. Hate is murder. Bullying is hate. Shredding people and tearing them apart murders people. People commit suicide. It's murder. Yes, they did it to themselves. But don't think, just because they did it to themselves, you did not have a hand in it. You tore them apart. You might as well have murdered them. If you're a bully. So think about that. Just because you don't pull the trigger doesn't mean that you didn't kill somebody. Just thinking a hateful thought in God's mind is the same as murder. Hateful, mean thoughts. Don't be that person, because those thoughts can turn into actions. And that's how we start treating people. And then finally, the last one is Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 17. For I will restore health to you, and your wounds I will restore health to you. Your wounds I will heal, declares the Lord, because they have called you an outcast. It is Zion, for whom no one cares. So there's God right there saying, I'm going to restore health to you, and I'm going to heal you. If we go to him in his word, if we trust what he says, God loves us. It doesn't matter what all these bullies and these terrible people say. We are loved and we are wanted. Sometimes we just can't see it because we've let those bullies take so much control and power over us. We can't even see the good anymore. That's why I say, don't let them take your power. And I am going to, at the end of this, come back and read my words of encouragement to myself one more time in prayer and hope that it helps somebody who's being bullied. Write them down. Read them to yourself every day and believe those words. And believe these words here too, when they say you've been called an outcast. Because you're not an outcast. God even says, no, the real outcast is me. God knows how many people hate him and bully him and torment him, and just because he's not alive being here on earth. If you read the Bible, you see God cries. God's angry. He's got emotions. He's got feelings. So if he's been through it 1,000,000 times over, we can put our faith and our hope and our love in him, that he is with us when we are not alone. You are not alone. And anyone being bullied, I encourage you to reach out to me. I'm here for you. But like I said, I was going to read these words one more time. These are the words I wrote myself for encouragement. And I titled it Bullying Never Ends, because it doesn't. We know it's never going to end. But I said, I might be ugly, crazy, fat, etc. in their world, but I don't have to let them live in my world, which is the truth. Or let them make my life ugly. I have to believe what I see in the mirror, myself from the inside out, which a bully sees from the outside in. They never even try to see what you are like on the inside. They don't want to get to know you, because then you can't be their victim. Bullies are shallow, manipulators, tyrants, and they're narcissistic. They will never see the beauty of who you are. Do not feed them. Silence is golden. Don't react. Don't react to anything they do. You're better than that. They want a reaction. Don't give them what they want. Don't let them live in your mind. Save that space for those who are worth it. Be loyal to you. Don't become them. You're not a follower. You're a leader. They bully out of their fear of you because they can see your power and will try to own it. Take back your power. I'll never be upset about writing those words. Those words get me through a lot. Still sometimes to this day, when at some of my lowest points where I feel people are attacking me and they're at me, I have to keep reminding myself, I am in control of this, not them. They don't control me. They don't own me. I don't have to let them live in my world, and my world is in my mind. If I give them the power and control over my mind of how I feel about myself, I've given up all my power. I have nothing. Don't let them win by controlling you mentally. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to own your every thought, your opinion, dress this way, do this, then maybe I'll be your friend. And they still probably won't be your friend. Do all this stuff for me. It's control. They want power and control over you. And that's if they even want that. Some just want to terrorize people because they're just mean, awful, terrible people. That just, somebody might have hurt them or they have bad childhoods, so they take it out on everybody else. Consider them an enemy that maybe should be a friend, but put your walls up, your boundaries, and do not allow them to cross those. And only do that if you're strong enough. Most of us aren't. We are going to fall victim to their little games. Know this bullying is not tolerated in my world. It's not tolerated in God's world either. God sees them as murderers. Never think you're better than anybody else, because you're not. We're all good at something, and we're better together than apart. Please be kind to one another. Be kind, show compassion. I know that even though I was being terrorized in school, some of those kids that I was friends with, whether they were in special ed or they were just the outcasts, I know they admired me, and I was an outcast myself, but I was older, and I stood strong right up until I caved. But during that time, I was able to be a friend to them and help build strength in some of them. I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself for what happened to Dale. I'm still working through that with God. I have to someday. But I know when I see a bully and I defend those who are being tormented, I do it in the name of Christ and in Dale's memory. Because I think he'd be here yet. He wouldn't have been so temperamental if he could have just had a couple friends. But no one would be his friend because of how he looked. And he was a fourth grade little boy who had a whole life to live. Stop the hate and the bullying and thinking that tearing people apart makes you powerful. Because it doesn't. It makes you look weak. And I will fight for the underdog till the day I die. All right. On that sobering note, I hope you all have a great day. Love y'all.